Seriously, you're looking for a Christ man, the one who's anointed with the Lord, with the Spirit of the Lord, to do His will. I'm that nigga.
One West, 125th Street. Look, y'all put y'all faith in presidents like they gon' change this country. Run the league and let y'all play cause y'all gon' make them money. Fuck Obama, he ain't come here on cargo.
American honor don't lack no soldiers. For the Spirit of the Lord, we don't lack no soldiers. You understand me?
Black, Hispanic, Native, they hate y'all as the same. Hate Christ in they image, hate you as a slave. God ain't all love, scriptures say he hate African soft niggas, they know we not the same. School to prison pipeline to get you off the streets. Put you in a cell toilet connected to the sink. Molested as a kid, she prostituted as a teen. The byproduct of Martin Luther King dream. They just took the yoke off, my nigga, we ain't free. We living bleak in these wastelands of poverty. If you don't know the truth, then the lies sound promising. Prophecy, gift and the curse. Dylan started killing, they was sitting in church. Black folk forgave him, man, this shit is absurd. You should never love your enemy, that shit ain't gon' work. Yeah, fuck dying on your knees, you better die in glory. Man, I joined the UPK, taught me the art of warring. I took a nigga life like mine to be recognized. I feel that pain every day, it can't be reconciled. Pops banging, my sister a prostitute. My brother got life, and somehow I still found the truth. War ready, no cowards, no excuse. Fuck reparations, you can't bandage no open wounds. Blood on the leaves, body swing hung from a noose. I was on a run in Nashville and I found the truth. I called the school, classes being held by the shock on my life. I want to be a gangster like a cop. Do this for my brothers, real brotherhood. Everything we do, we got it out this book. My nigga, I can never be no African. UPK the only authorized acronym. I'm passionate about my brothers and sisters. We in hell, I ain't got nothing against them. That's another religion. If it ain't under YAHANNA, ain't me murdered by them and got a hug from YAHANNA. That's the way out for a coward in my observation. They don't fear the Lord, they indoctrinated. Wolves in sheep clothing, Joe Osteen. Real priests bringing back black royalty. One West on my headpiece, ranking order. Can't let them trick me off the streets, I gotta raise my daughter. I got brothers at the border ducking ICE agents. I got the name change, it was life changing. My family thought it was a game, put on all black, they said I was going through a phase. It's more of us in jail than it was slaves.
Aquí somos la Escuela Israelita del Conocimiento Práctico Universal. Hoy estamos aquí. Lord Commandant General YAHANNA, I.S.U.P.K. I.S.U.P.K. This is what Commander General YAHANNA did. This is what he did.
First camp, I cut off all my dreads. I took an oath when that oil hit my head. Niggas capping like they lids. I'm a priest, I never stick no fork in no pig. I was dead till I found out how to live. This brotherhood taught me how to be a man. I came back to my roots, I had to dig. A couple gaps I had to bridge. I got a rib, I'm married to this work. You wanna serve the Lord, he ain't in the Christian church. I had to dig.
Shalom, Israel. It's that time again. The I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General YAHANNA presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover. That's right, the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. All black Hispanics and Native Americans are commanded to observe the Lord's Passover. This will be the biggest Passover to date. You do not want to miss this. Fresh lamb, fresh wine, and bitter herbs as commanded by the Most High. Only $200 per person ages 17 and up. The biggest event of the year. There is only one Passover, and it's under Commanding General YAHANNA. See you there, Israel. Shalom.
Nobody else there to compare to. Train for war, men of war, and war like apparel. Prefer our leaders.
He parted the Red Sea, and the entire nation of Israel walked out of slavery.
The I.S.U.P.K. presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. You do not want to miss this one, Israel. Shalom.
Shalom, Israel. It's that time again. The I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General YAHANNA presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover. That's right, the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. All black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are commanded to observe the Lord's Passover. This will be the biggest Passover to date. You do not want to miss this. Fresh lamb, fresh wine, and bitter herbs as commanded by the Most High. Only $200 per person, ages 17 and up. The biggest event of the year. There is only one Passover, and it's under Commanding General YAHANNA. See you there, Israel. Shalom.
Nobody else there to compare to. Train for war, men of war, and war like apparel.
Hey, listen, brothers and sisters, man. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to this channel. And also, please, go to isupk.com and pay your tithe. Drop me some cash so we can move around this planet like we need to, man, and do the things we need to do.
Everyone west. Everyone west. Everyone west.
Hey, Shalom, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yeshua, Brakatam, to all the brothers of Yahweh, Shemar, Lathan, Ba'ashem, Yeshua, to all the sisters. I'm Priest and Officer 500 Barak Yellow with the ISUPK, which stands for the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and it stands under Command General YAHANNA. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Since 1969, we'll be teaching you nothing but the truth about the identity of the people who don't have an identity, who seem to not have a culture, who seem to have to adopt the culture of every single other nation that is round about them. Why? Because those people lost their identity as prophesied. You understand? As part of the curse that would befall upon them. Why? Because they disobeyed their God. They disobeyed their father. Who are those people? So-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the true biblical Israelites of antiquity, right? And just like these classes, we're here to teach you the right path to follow, whether it's, when it comes to your relationship, to everyday life, to raising your children, to changing yourself, right? And tonight's class is all about raising the children. Why? Because we have to learn from the mistakes of the past in order to not repeat them, right? In raising these kids, what happened when we raise these kids? We prepare the next generation to make sure they don't follow into the steps of the previous generation that messed everything up. How? By marrying heathens. That's how they messed everything up. By, how do we teach our children not to be drug addicts like the generation who did not know crack was bad? You tell them that drugs is bad. You teach them that they should not smoke crack. You teach them that it's wrong to be a prostitute. You teach them right from since they're children. You understand? This is the topic of the class today. To raise your kids right. Because we're not raised right. A lot of us have heard about TV is raising the kids, right? Mr. Lockie, the TV is raising the kids. Everything that is on the TV is, 95% of it is wrong. What do we see on TV today that is shown to our kids that they reenact? We were bringing this out on our show, 1 West Ground Zero, last Sunday with Officer 1000 Adiyar Officer 1000 Sharataza and Officer 1000 Shayawan. We brought where there is a book. Let me see if I could pull it up. Right, there is a clip. It's a children's book about a squirrel and his nuts. That's crazy. But there was so much adult references, right, in the book. It's like you would not be able to believe it's a children's book. Well, it is. Not only that, but the transgender community, I don't know if it's a trans man, trans woman, it doesn't matter. They're saying that children needs to be exposed to pornography. You understand? This is why in the Bible where it says that we're fighting against principalities, the indoctrination of this society. Revelation tells you that Babylon has become a habitation of devil and evil spirits. All these that are poisoning the mind of our kids since young. You understand? This is what it's talking about. This is what a job we do, that we're not paid for. We have these classes free for our people. Then you're on a daily basis. All these shows, Black Watch, Cross the Line, One West Ground Zero, Cry Out, Spare Not podcast. Coming up, we have Heads of State, hosted by Captain 10,000, Hadar Yala, Officer 1000, The Warrior, Officer 1000, Adiyar, Officer 1000, Kwam Gawan, Officer 1000, Shire 1, and myself, Officer 500, Barak Yala. This is to teach the people, to teach the men how to be men, the women how to be women, to teach you how to raise children the right way. Because if not, who's going to raise those children? The TV? I'm going to bring out the clip in a second, right? The TV is going to raise the children. What was the TV show? Jurassic Park. They had a Jurassic Park, a cartoon version. Jurassic Park, I was a fan of it, because I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was a kid, right? It was about finding fossils and dinosaurs and whatnot. Now, the cartoon Jurassic Park, they had to emphasize on a homosexual relationship. I say, well, damn, what are we studying? Are we studying dinosaurs or the rainbow? And it's for kids. And this is the problem. If you don't raise your kids, the oppressor will. And the oppressor is the most deviant bastard on the face of the earth. You understand? So much so he's a deviant that we know oppressor's a culture vulture, right? He and each empire based their empire today of the previous empire and even their doctrine or whatnot. Our oppressor stole the deviancy from the Africans and perfected it. And this is who's teaching your children. You understand? If you don't teach your children right, they will believe that a man can be a woman can be a man. And guess what? When they die, the fossil of that boy is going to show that he was a boy from the beginning and it never changed. The bone structure of a man do not transition. You understand? Now let me pull that that clip. You're going to understand how diabolical this is, and then we're going to get into the priest I was talking about. There you go. That is crazy. It's literally, that children's books is literally called These Big Nuts. It's a children's book. You cannot make this up. And this is what your children are exposed on a daily basis. This is what, even if it's in the school, it's not just about a TV. In the school system, it's no different. They're trying to teach a kid how to be tolerant. It goes against our nature to be tolerant. It goes against the law to be tolerant of everything. You understand? And I'm going to show you that, right? Let me just share my screen. Everybody on Bigo, you want to see the clip? We're live on I.S.U.P.K Montreal, I.S.U.P.K Toronto, I.S.U.P.K IET, and One West Ground Zero on YouTube, and I.S.U.P.K Canada and Montreal on Facebook. Now, you cannot make this up. It's called, listen, I don't even know if I could play the whole thing because it's just listen. Y'all going to see for yourself. Listening to it is It's disgusting. It's abominable.
Dee's Big Nuts by Mark Thunder. Dee was a squirrel who had big nuts. His nutsack was so big that it would drag on the ground everywhere he went. Dee had a friend named Sarah who loved nuts. Sarah would always go around town trying to put everyone's nuts in her mouth. Sarah loved how big Dee's nuts were. His nuts were her favorite. They were the biggest nuts she had ever seen. She would play with his nuts all day and sometimes even at night. Sometimes her mom would join. They would take turns holding Dee's nuts at night. Sometimes Sarah would even try to put both of Dee's nuts in her mouth at the same
time. All right, I'm gonna stop right here. This is diabolical. This is crazy. Like, you understand? This is the children's book. I mean, we're adults. We know exactly. We don't need the context. I'm gonna say it like that. We do not need the context. This is what children are being exposed to. You understand? And this is why it's so important to be in these classes. You understand? Why? Because just out of curiosity, right? I asked ChatGPT to describe the daily life of Israelites. It's all family oriented. Men, have a trade or were farmers or sheep herders, or whatnot. The sisters, they make the food, they make the clothes, and we teach the children. We study the law. You understand? And the law is totally against deviancy. Like, how are you trying to sexualize children from a young age? With these, what they would call subliminal messages. You understand? Let's go in the book real quick, right? Deuteronomy chapter 6, start at verse 1. This is why it's so important to be in these classes, because you have to damn near relearn how to do everything. Is it chapter 6? Salaki, yeah, chapter 6, verse 1. You have to learn how to do everything, to learn how to be a parent. How do I know that? Perfect example is Will Smith's kid. What's this nigga name again? What's this brother name? Jaden Smith. Show a picture of Jaden Smith at the awards. He looked like a abomination. And what's the other brother name again? Look at this cat. Destroyed as hell. Salakia. Look at this cat right here. You understand? What's the other brother name? His son became a girl or identifies as a girl. The guy that plays for Miami Heat. I forgot his name. It's irrelevant. The point is, you're going to let society teach your kid and influence everything your kids do. You're going to end up with sons like Jaden Smith. You're going to end up with daughters like, they're going to be whores. Cardi B said she don't want her daughter to listen to her music because she makes music for whores. That's what. SHALAM, Yom and Charles, Yabashish Bakatha. Magic Johnson is another one. I was talking to Dwayne Wade. That's what I was looking for. Dwayne Wade's son name is Yahya. Damn. Not even funny, but that's crazy. But Magic Johnson is another one. His son identifies as a girl. Let me see. You see this? The first picture to the left. In the middle is Dwayne Wade's son. That thing is a boy. That's a brother. See, good night. This is the problem. You let society teach your kids, you're going to end up with a son like Dwayne Wade's son, with a son like Magic Johnson's son. I'm not even going to pull I'm not even going to pull up a picture of that monstrosity as well. Looking like a abomination. That's all I got to say. Why? Because adopting the culture of the heathens, we're going to teach our kids like the heathens. This is the problem. Again, even ask ChatGPT. The lifestyle of the Israelites made them separate from the other nations around them. Whether it's our dietary laws, our laws on judgment, what else? Laws on relationships, marriages, or whatnot. Everything, our lifestyle, which is what the Torah is, our lifestyle separates us from the heathens. But now that we're integrated with everybody else, and we do as the heathens, in Rome, you do as the Romans, you end up with sodomites as sons and whores as daughters. But let's go to the precept, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. Any questions or comments, put it in the chat. Y'all make sure y'all click the sign in and sign out link in the beginning or and at the end of the chat, right? At the end of the class, Salakia. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Lord your God commanded to teach you. You understand? This is the thing. We have to be taught to be able to teach. But you're not taught. You don't know better because you don't come to class. And we're about to see how important it is to come to class. Imagine that. They want to teach you that you should be all inclusive, that you should accept everybody. Do you want to accept the transgender community that says that your children should be exposed to pornography? That's what you want to accept? Listen, if you want to call me a bigot and whatever names you have in the dictionary against me, because I refuse utterly to have, children exposed to any types of deviancy, because you want us to be all inclusive. Listen, no sweat. Call me whatever name you want to call me. I don't give a damn. As of me and my household, we will follow the Lord. And if we're called bigots because we follow the Lord, I'll wear a badge. I wear a shirt. I say, I'm proud to be a bigot. You think I care? I care more over here about the children. You protect the children. We don't want them to end up on Epstein's Island. We don't want whores in our community. So we teach them not to be whores, not to be sexual deviant. We teach them not to hate one another. Y'all are raising up YNs. The reason you're raising up YNs that are shooting up the block, that are ready to unalive each other over what? Stepping on each other's shoes? Because you do not know how to teach your children. Because you're teaching your children based off of the teachings you got from society. Whose society? The white man's society. And if it's not the white man's society, whose society would it be? If you become a Muslim, it would be the Arab man's society. If you follow after the East Indian society, regardless of whatever the case is, it's not your laws, it's not your culture, not your customs you're teaching them. And this is why we fail. You understand? Let's get back to it. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, meaning the law and everything that comes with breaking those laws, the consequences of not obeying the laws, which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it. Verse 2, that thou mightest fear the Lord thy God. What is the fear of the Lord? Is to follow, obey the commandments. To keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son, your children, and thy son's son, the next generation after your next generation, and so on and so forth, generation after generation. We are to teach the law to our children. The law will keep them separate. The law will not make them all inclusive. Even that, imagine how Christian that is, being all inclusive. God is not all inclusive. He only loves the nation of Israel. He killed the Egyptian. Clearly, that was not all inclusive. He burned down Sodom and Gomorrah for their deviancy. That's not all inclusive. He said, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. He didn't say the whole planet have I loved. That is not all inclusive. All inclusive come from your oppressor. That's it. And really, even then, It's still not all inclusive. You know how I know it's not all inclusive? Because ICE decides to target a specific people. They decide to target Latinos, Haitians, West Indians. They do not target illegal Chinese. If they were all inclusive, why don't you deport the Chinese that are bringing all the fentanyl in America and Canada? Deport them to it for all inclusive, right? Don't be a racial bigot. You understand? That's not all inclusive. If you're all inclusive, why don't you deport yourself back to the caves and treat yourself as you're treating others? Deport all the Iranian sleeper cells that you have in the country and be all inclusive. How about that? You understand? Now, as of me and my family, we will follow the Lord and we will not be all inclusive. We will teach the law that makes our children holy, set apart, separate, different from these other nations, special. You understand? Let's keep reading. All the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. You understand? All the days till we die, we're going to teach the law to our children. Let them know this is wrong. What does the law says? How do you deal with a woman? How do you deal with another woman if you decide to have more than one wife? How do you deal with your children? You teach them the law. Everything we do is the law. Why? Because the law is our lifestyle. That's it. And what is the opposite of life? If this is how we live, our lifestyle is how we live. What is the opposite of life? Anyone in the chat could answer. What is the opposite of life? Anyone in the chat? Before we read the next verse. What is the opposite of life? Sister Rawat said, unalive. Opposite of life, yes, is death. So if the law brings life, our lifestyle, this is how we live, is following the law. What happens when we don't follow the law? We die. That's that simple. There is no such thing. They talk about that with Captain Hadar's class on Tuesday. There is no such thing as free will. You don't follow the law, you die. Romans chapter 6 verse 23 says the wages of sin is death. There is no in between. There is no other option. Meaning what? Again, our lifestyle, our way of life is the law. If we don't follow the law, we walk into the ways of death. Being a homosexual brings death, monkeypox. You know, then you're the most violent community on the planet. How do we know? Sodom and Gomorrah. They tried to beat down the door where Lot was staying to rape the angels. Damn. The last school shooting that there was, the mass unaliving there was in Canada, was a person that transitioned. You understand? It's facts. It's not bigotry. It's just facts. When it comes to our people, you know, if we step away from the law, which is our way of life, we walk into the ways of death. That's that simple. Let's keep reading. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, it's not talking about everybody, just so y'all know. It's not talking about everybody. I could have told you that from the beginning, but we had to get to that part when he's speaking to the children of Israel, the 12 tribes. Yashar Allah in the Hebrew. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it. It doesn't say learn about the law and just know it. It's an action. It says observe to do it. To learn the law, to practice the commandments, to teach it. You don't just talk. We're not Pharisees and Sadducees where we know the law and we don't practice it. In the I.S.U.P.K, we live the Bible. We don't just read it. That it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers had promised thee. Again, this is another, when we go into Deuteronomy 28, verse 1, this is another blessing. We are to be increased. We are to be fruitful. We are to possess the land where we will be dwelling. If we obey, throughout the Bible, it tells you that obedience is the key. You understand? In the land that floweth with milk, in the land that floweth with milk and honey, That land today, they're fighting over it. You know why it's not flowing with milk and honey? Because we're not in the land. We're not in the land because we sinned, because we disobeyed, because we transgressed the commandments. You understand? That's what that land that's supposed to be abundant, is looking like a desert today. You know? And without the bombs, it still looks like a desert. Because we're the ones who's supposed to be the owners of the land, nobody else. Verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. So like verse 5. And thou shalt love the Lord with all thine heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. What is love? So like, what is love according to God? Before we keep reading. What is the love of God? Anyone can answer. I have an answer on the Beagle chat. What is the love of God? Young man Charles, what is the love of God? I'll give you a few more seconds. We have an answer on the Beagle chat. What is the love of God? According to what the Bible says. Not according to what your Christian pastor tells you. You know? But what is the love of God? According to what the Bible says. Give you a few more seconds and I'm going to give it to y'all. Damn right. Sister Rawath and young man Charles said to keep the commandments. That's the love of God. It says according to the Bible, meaning what? Where is that in the Bible? Where can we find that? Because Christians will tell you you love God because you go to church on a Sunday and, you know, I don't know what Christians say. Listen, in my lifetime, even before the truth, I think I went in the church for a school outing, really, literally. Besides that, my mom was a gospel singer. I never went to church. I think I went to church. The longest time I was in the church was what? 2-3 years ago, I went for a funeral. I never went to church. I don't know what the church says. The church says dumb stuff. I learned never to listen to what people say at church. The church looks like a party. You know, I see so-called Judites in the church just partying, just catching the Holy Ghost. That's really it. My experience of the church, my experience of the church is BET. My mom turned on BET every Sunday to listen to gospel until what, 12 or 1 p.m. We were not even allowed to be on the TV until then. Me and my brother were suffering gospel music until like 12 p.m. just so we could play video games. My mom took over the TV. That's all I know about the church. Now, where in the Bible does it say that the love of God is the commandments? Because the Bible is absolute, is the truth. And it tells you that the love of God is to follow commandments. Real quick before we get back to Deuteronomy, 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God. This is the love of God. That we keep his commandments. To love the Lord, you have to keep the commandments. And that's how you know the Christians do not love God. Because they teach that law is done away with. They teach they can't follow the commandments. They should not. They don't have to. And that's how you know they're hypocrites. They are sinners. And his commandments are not grievous. It's not a hard thing to follow the commandments. You have sex with a woman, that's your wife for life. What is complicated? I mean, if you have sex with a damn demon, that's your problem. You should not have sex with her. You chose to have sex with her. You know? It's not a complicated thing not to eat pork. There's a dietary law. You can eat deer. Listen, venison is amazing. Bison. Damn, because the white man is a devil, you can't go ahead and eat antelope. Antelope is lawful. Giraffe is lawful. Lord, allow in the kingdom we get some giraffe sirloin. Do you know how big a giraffe is? You eat for the whole damn near 2 years with that. Salakia. You know, it's not hard to not eat shrimp. You know, it's even beneficial for you to not eat shrimp. Besides all those health risks that goes with eating shrimp, these are the water filters. We don't have clean waterways because you eat all the shrimp, and then your pH balance is off and you stink. That's what happened. You understand? Damn right. Sea roach. It's not hard to, you know, follow the commandments. Listen, it's not hard to be brotherly towards one another. It's an easy thing. Imagine we teach the kids to be brotherly towards one another. You think you'd be raising up YNs shooting up to block each other up? No, you wouldn't have YNs if you were teaching the law to the kids, if you were raising the kids right. You understand? You wouldn't. How? Because brotherhood prevents us from unaliving one another. If there's literally there's an answer to every problem that we face. If I have a problem with you, I'm going to go to you and you alone. You don't hear me? No sweat. We go to council. Shalom Yabashim Shabrakatha. We go to council. We go into council. We have the men above us, the generals. We go into council. If you still want to disagree with the council, we go in front of the nation. Like, there's not one problem that does not have a solution in the Bible. And no, it is not a religious book. Absolutely not. But the Bible is the answer to every problem we face. It don't matter if it's, you know, these YNs to raise up a child the right way, which is the topic of the class, your relationship problems, you know how to have authority, right, as a man over your woman. But then again, there's a way to check her. Like, the Bible says, don't be like a roaring lion in the house. You know, it tells you how to look for a woman, what to look for in a woman. Proverbs chapter 31. You understand? Name me a problem that does not have a solution in the Bible. And I'm not asking young man Charles or the sister in the Beagle. I'm asking people who are not in the school. Name me a problem that does not have a solution that's in the Bible. Name me one. I'll wait, because there is no problem with no solution. Your wife is a monster. You know, she don't want to cook or whatnot. She don't want to learn how to cook. Just get another one. It's that simple. You know. That's it. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The point is, it's not hard to follow the commandments. That's the point. Get back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart. Your heart is not talking about the organ that's beating in your chest. You can't love with that. You could pump blood and bring oxygen throughout your body. That's what it is for. It's talking about your mind. That's what it's talking about. You know, people understand context outside the Bible with no issue. Like, if I tell you have a black heart, I mean your heart in your chest cavity is literally black, like my jacket. No, you're a wicked person. That's what it means. You know, if you have a good heart, you have a good spirit, you have a good mind. That's what it means to have a good heart. Doesn't mean you're healthy and you pump blood the right way. Maybe you have a heart disease, but you have a good heart. You both have a good and a bad heart at this point, but you get the point. It's talking about your mind. And with all thy soul and with all thy might. Listen, you're going to fight. You're going to fight to follow the law. You're going to fight those demons that tell you that you can't find a woman, therefore, in your nation, so you're going to go outside the nation to find a woman? Never. Not in a million years. These brothers fought with all their might. The brothers in the Maccabees with their mother that got tortured by the Greeks, they did not waver. They loved the Lord with all their heart, their soul, and their might, to the point where they got tortured for just not eating pork. They could have ate one bite. Even the Greek was like, yo, damn, y'all really gonna get tortured to death? You just have to take one bite. From one after the other. get their tongues cut off, they get scalped, they get boiled to death, one after the other. We're probably going to make a whole class about that. It's what, 2 Maccabees chapter 7. This is loving God with all your might, not ever wavering. You understand? Teach your child how to be strong. Right? That's what you have to teach. This is how you teach your child how to be strong. It's not about, defending himself physically. Because yes, teach your child how to defend themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. But how you're truly strong. We teach our son to have value, and we teach our daughters that the value in a person has to do with money and status. Diddy had both. We know where he's at right now and why he's over there. You understand? We learn values from our oppressor. This is why we're destroyed as a people. This is why R. Kelly was allowed to run rampant in the black community for so long. And people would not give a damn. It's not like people did not know he was a pedophile. They allowed it. Some of the victims' guardians damn near sold them to R. Kelly. They were fine with it. Why? Because they cut a check. Maybe they got an autograph. Imagine that. They sold their daughter for an autograph. That's crazy. And prostitution is what we learn from our oppressor. You understand? Salakia. Verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. You're never going to forget about it. Why? Because you're going to meditate on it in your mind. That's what it is. This is why we wear fringes. We wear fringe, I think, is Numbers 18 and 40 something. We wear fringes. We look at the fringes as like a reminder that we have to follow the law. That's what the fringes are for. Knowing the commandments, studying the law. These words about to study the law day and night. Love the Lord with all thine heart, thy soul, thy might, thy strength. You understand? We keep that in our mind, in our heart. We never forget it. When we do, we adopt the law of the other nations, the ways of the other nations, the lifestyle of the other nations. They're able to live by it because they don't have the law. They don't have the judgments. We're not. That's why we die when we smoke weed and cigarettes and sleep with the heathens. Verse 7. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. What does the word diligently means? Because y'all don't even know a goddamn thing, apparently. Give me 1 second. The definition of diligently, right? Let's go to Merriam-Webster definition. Salakia. It's got the definition of diligently. Share my screen. Diligently comes from the word diligent, being characterized by steady. You understand? Steady all the time. You're diligent. You're steady, earnest, and energetic effort, painstaking. Many hours of diligent research were required, meaning you're doing it all the time. You don't just give up because they don't listen. You're diligent. Listen, you know how it is hard to teach a kid to do a goddamn thing? Kids are stubborn. You know how I know kids are stubborn? Because the Bible calls us stiff-necked people. We're a stiff-necked people. Do you not know the Lord taught us the law from Adam? And we still went to captivity after captivity after captivity. Why? Because we decided to not obey. The sister said it's hard, especially for a mom. Damn right. That's why you need a man in the house. Listen, to all you so-called independent women, you need a man. How do I know you need a man? Because you cannot make babies on your own. That's number one. And the man is the authority. You know, it is hard for you to raise children on your own. You need a man in your house. You need a husband. That's really it. That's the reality of it. Not one woman wants to be a single mother. During the time of the Bible, General Hyman pulled that up already, right? He explained to you, and we could make a whole history class on it. How in those times it was damn near a death sentence for you to be single. Yeah. No, listen, your father's gonna die at some point, you know, and then what? Who's gonna be over you? Who's gonna be your daddy? Who's gonna be your papi? Who's gonna be over you? Who's gonna be your protection? Your dad's not there no more. Yeah, that's if he ever was there in the first place. That's why you need a man. That voice of authority. Listen, it checks your children right away. You know, I have a nephew. Listen, my nephew, I mean, that doesn't mean that he's always going to listen 100%. But you raise the voice to a kid, it's like, damn, they freeze up. Like, yo, I got to check myself. That voice instills fear. You understand? That voice instills fear. Right? The fear of the Lord. His voice shall be as many waters. Yeah, that's the voice of authority. You know. Not like these, listen, these white kids, boy, their mom talks to them like little puppies. I don't talk to my dog like a little puppy. Even though my dog, she's nice. You know, she's listening. But sometimes I have to check the hell out of my dog. Like, hey, yo, Ruby, listen. I raise my voice. I'm not going to do it now, but you get the point. These white people, you see videos all the time. You hear stories, how they raise their kids, right? Because they talk to them like little puppies, like little cute chihuahuas. Then a chihuahua barks back at them and bites the hell out of their fingers. That's white people raising their kids. You see how you little chihuahuas and Pomeranians, the little ankle biters, that's white people and their kids. The difference is that little white kids do not bite your ankles back when you raise your voice at them or you're not as nice. They unalive you. How do I know? School shooters, mass shooters. What is it? Last month, some white kid unalived his dad because he took away his PlayStation or his Xbox. Damn. You take away my PlayStation or Xbox. What do you want to do? Be mad at your dad? I say, yeah, be mad at me. I brought you in the world. I'll take you out. This is what black people say. Black people, listen, we talk in a slang that will put fear in everybody. Listen, I'll break your neck. Now, don't be saying that to your kids, of course. You know, there's a lot of trauma that is passed down to us throughout because of slavery, generational trauma. But the point is, we don't raise our kids the same. And that man in the household is the authority in the house to the kids. You know? And you wouldn't be able to teach the kids the law without the man. How do you know that? Who taught Eve to not eat the tree? Don't watch at the fact that Eve disobeyed, right? But who taught Eve to not eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, to not be like the other nations? We'll make a whole class about that, about how the trees in the garden were other nations, but who taught Eve? Eve did not teach herself. She got the instruction from someone. Anyone could put that in the chat. Most High in Christ. How did Eve know not to eat of the tree in the garden? How did she know? Let me give y'all a few seconds. How did she know not to eat of the tree? Anyone put it in the chat? What said her head, her Lord, her husband? From young man said from her husband. Exactly. you need that man in the house. He's, you know. And what happened when she did not listen to the instruction of her man? What happened then? What happened when Eve did not listen to the instruction of her man that he got from God? Or what says she got disciplined? Damn, yeah, that's one way to say it. Damn, she got disciplined. You know? Good night. Yeah, I'm gonna say it like that. She got disciplined. Listen, that's how you know it's hard for, you know, you need the man in the house. You need to obey. You need to listen to the man. The Bible says, wives, submit to your husband as it fit the Lord. You know. So that's why it's very important to follow your Lord. Damn right. You could have prevented a lot of things from listening to your man and not the white man. That's it. You understand? The instructions, that was provided to Adam, the man, and he gave it to the woman. You understand? And then, just like we are taught the law, and we're teaching the sisters, we're teaching our wives. When we're at war, when we go to camp, our wives are telling the children what we taught them, the instructions we gave them. Do you understand? It's a whole family structure. This is Israelite culture, is our family structure. Salakia. They call it the nuclear family. We're not supposed to be, you know, split apart or whatnot, or separated, or living different households. Like, you know, you throw the man away from the house, and you know, I forgot, there's a specific word for it. But a nuclear family is our lifestyle. It's a way of life. We don't live like that. Why? Because we were taught by our oppressor. Our sisters are taught that the black man ain't shit. Salakia, you know, that he don't mean nothing, even if he has a check. Just do you, right? Feminism, woman power, whatever nonsense do you learn? Now you teach your daughter the same. Then your daughter is miserable because you taught her how to be miserable, because the white man made you believe that being with a black man will make you miserable. Being with a Latino man will make you miserable. Being with a native man will make you miserable. Don't you realize that we are teaching our children the ways of another nation, not our ways? Should this not be a telltale sign to not follow the other nations? You understand? I don't know. This should be clear as day, crystal clear like water. Like I was bringing this out to a sister earlier. The value of a man, which is worth more than gold, is the law. A man that follows the law is pure. How do you see that? There's nothing wrong with it. The ways of the Lord is perfect. When we stray out from the ways of the Lord, which is life, where we go to an imperfect way, which is death. You understand? Let's get back to, what was I saying again? Deuteronomy, we're there, right? I have to do a part 2 of the class. I ain't gonna hold you. Deuteronomy chapter, yeah, we're gonna do a part 2 next week. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. What? The law, the commandments. We teach diligently to our children. And shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house. Listen, they come home from school learning about, transitioning, I guess. You teach them, this is wrong. You understand? Teach them about being all inclusive. This is wrong. Why is it wrong? Is it your personal opinion? Today you have a thing called millennials, Generation Z, or whatnot. And see what the law has to say. What does our lifestyle says about, sexual liberation and acceptance of homosexuality, of whatever you call it. Listen, I don't even know what they call it these days. I just call it deviancy. You're a whore and a sodomite. Now let's see, what does the law or lifestyle says about that being sexual liberation in school? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 17. That's in the law that we have to teach our children diligently. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. Don't even ask yourself why Cardi B do not want her daughter to not listen to her music. She's making horror music. She's making music about how moist her private part is. And don't think that you're going to be able to have that music from your daughter. It's on YouTube. It's public. And you perform all the time. And you still brag about it. Deuteronomy 23 and 17, Salakia. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Listen, you wouldn't have Lil Nas X. You wouldn't have, what's the name again? Jaden Smith, Magic Johnson's son. I don't even know its name. Yahya Johnson. I want to call it Yahya. Dwayne Wade Johnson. Dwayne Wade son. You want to have these if they were taught the law, if they were taught right. We're breaking generational curses because now we know who we are. We know that our lifestyle. And this is another point, right? So, like, real quick. This is why it's so important to come into these classes, because without knowing who you are, you do not know your culture. You do not know what you should teach your children. You know the reason why you teach them about that alternative lifestyle? You know why you teach them about pork is the new white meat? Pause. Shrimp, crab, lobster is a delicacy. Because you identify as an American. Because you're Caribbean. Because you're Haitian. You think griot is a Haitian delicacy. You don't have an identity. You do not know your identity. That's why, you eat chitlins. That's why you eat lobster. You go on a date, and that woman, you mess up her pH balance by giving her lobster and shrimp. You say it's an aphrodisiac. You suck on the muscle. You suck on shellfish. Damn. Then we just read this. Shall be no sodomite out of the sons of Israel. You understand? That is disgusting. You throw off her pH balance and then you complain that she stink, and you don't smell no better. But you could have prevented that by knowing the law. You don't know the law. Why don't you know the law? Why don't you even know the law applies to you and you only? Because you do not know your identity. You're Black American. I don't even know how you could be a color and a continent. You're Afro-Caribbean. What is African Caribbean? What is that supposed to mean? You're a Native American. Are you a native white man? Because America's named after Amerigo Vespucci. Some people go even further. They say, I'm Blasian. What the hell is a Blasian? Damn. You see, this is the problem. Not knowing your identity, you cannot follow your culture. You cannot follow your custom, which is the law. How can you not follow your custom? It has nothing to do with you being in captivity. That's what the fake Israelite, the Old Testament Israelite says. They can't follow the law because they're in captivity, which is stupid. How do I know that? Because Christ followed the law. He was in the Roman captivity. The point is, you can't follow the law, and it has nothing to do with captivity. It has to do with not knowing that you are the biblical Israelites and that this is your constitution. This is where you find your laws, you find your culture, you find your way of life, which is what the Torah is. You can never know that if you don't know who you are. That's why it's so important to be in these classes, because we tell you who you are. We start the class with this. Who are we addressing? So-called blacks, Latinos, and natives. That's who we're addressing. The descendants of the slaves in the Americas and the Caribbeans, and who are also scattered across the four corners of the earth. The real biblical Israelites. That's who we're talking to. That's who we're teaching. This is the people who need to know the identity. How do you know they need to know the identity and no one else? Because everybody else have their identity. It don't matter if they're colonized or not. The Filipinos, are not Israelites. The Samoans are not Israelites. The indigenous Africans are not Israelites. The Aborigines of Australia are not Israelites. The white man is definitely not an Israelite. Even ChatGPT agreed with me. I asked ChatGPT about the Israelites. Said the Israelites are brown to dark brown. I said, damn, that means Netanyahu is definitely not an Israelite. Adam Sandler and all of them. We're teaching the people their true identity so that they know their culture, that they know how to be men, they know how to be women, they know how to be fathers, mothers, parents, so they could teach their children properly. So they could teach their children the law, their way of life. You understand? Cardi B would not have to say, I don't want my daughter to listen to my music. If she knew the law, she would not make music like that. She will not dress a certain way. She will not be proud to be a whore. You know where she learned that from? From the white woman. White woman is a proud whore. That's why our sisters are proud whores, because they want to be white. Again, let's get back to it. How do we prevent these hoes and flamboyant kids from being in the community, or this lifestyle from ever affecting us? When they go to school and they're taught about sexual liberation, and an alternative lifestyle, they come home. We should talk to our kids when we sit in our house. They come home and then we tell them, what did you learn in school? What did you learn over there? What are they teaching you? And you cipher to the teachings. And you tell them, well, you cannot. There's no such thing as an alternative lifestyle, because there's no alternative to our lifestyle. There is no alternative to the law. The law is life. Outside of the law is death. That's it. There is no free will or nothing like that. They come home, they talk to you about the teaching of alternative lifestyle. You tell them, well, here's what the law says. Here's what our lifestyle says. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. If Cardi B knew the law, she wouldn't even have to say that about her daughter. Why? Because she would teach the law to her daughter. She would have been taught the law if her parents knew about their identity. Same throughout the whole nation, throughout the 12 tribes. Nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. You understand? It's that simple. Refer to the law. The law is our lifestyle. It's our way of life. What is the way of death? Is not following the law. Let's go back to chapter 6 and start from the top. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house. When they come home from school, whatever they learn outside of the house, make sure you go through the material they learn. Make sure you go through the curriculum they learn in school. You know what? I was in college. I think I was a trooper then, right? I was in college a couple years ago. When we tell you, listen, you always hear about us saying smoking is gay. There was a heathen making a presentation on smoking and how the cigarettes and the blunts are in the shape of a phallus on purpose. I said, damn, you cannot make this up. Smoking is really gay. For those who know, a phallus is another word for penis. You understand? I'm not making this up. The heathen literally made a presentation on how you suck on us. Listen, that's why when Captain Adar said, Lord be with y'all, what are you doing? Sucking on blunts? That's rainbow activity. And that's a fact. And I'm not being biased because that's my camp leader. You know, I don't doubt anything Captain Hadar said, but it's so like, you really can't make this up. The heathen had a presentation on smoking and how they purposely shaped the cigarettes in the shape of a phallus. So, hey, if you smoke, you're gay. Literally. Salakia. Shalom. So, Yabasha Shabrakatha. Officer Madabar in the building. Salakia. Bear with me 1 second. I put the link in the chat all the time. Shout out to Officer Madabar. You know. But yeah, so basically, you understand, it's not just go through the curriculum and see what is wrong. I mean, ain't nothing wrong learning math. Not Moses, Joseph, even Moses, as a matter of fact, they learn from the curriculum of the Egyptians, right? Some things that you may learn from other sources is not always wrong. That's why you have to go through the material and see, is this wrong according to the law? That's how you know if it's wrong or not. Now you learn your ABC and your 1, 2, 3's Most High in Christ. Now come learn how to count from 1 to 10 in the last one Kodash. Akkad, Shanya, Shalash, Arabai, Kamash. You understand? You want to learn another language? No sweat. Now what are they teaching you? Are they teaching you that you could be a whore? Wait a minute. What does the law says about that? What does the law say about Salakia? That thing they just taught you about, because I know the law says you should not be a whore. Therefore, if they teach you about sexual liberation, you can have more than one sexual partner, it's wrong. You're a whore. And the law says you can't be a whore. Sex is marriage according to the law. Hey, Shalom. Officer Madabar joining us. You can't see him, but he's on stage with us. Salaki. What's going on, Adawan?
Ain't nothing much was going on with you, man.
Say the same that we've been doing since 1969. It's a lot. You know, of course, if you want to chime in at any moment, let me know, sir, or unmute yourself. I'll see you unmuted. But again, like even when you go in the book of Tobit, right? That's how you know you cannot be a whore. You cannot have more than one sexual partner. There's no such thing as casual sex. I think it's Tobit chapter 6, or is it 7? I think it's verse 7, chapter 7, right? Chapter 7. Bear with me 1 second. It's in the book of Tobit. It says to take a sister according to the law. I mean, you have sex, you're married to that woman forever. There you go. It's chapter 6, verse 12. Wait a minute, one moment. Is it 6 and 12? It's another verse. Right, but everything refers to the law. That's the point. Tobit chapter 6, verse 12. And the maid is fair and wise. Now therefore hear me, and I will speak to her father. And when we return from rages, Salakia, we will celebrate the marriage. For I know that Rachel cannot marry her to another according to the law of Moses. Everything refers to the law. All of our teachings refer to the law. You understand? Let me start right here. The point is this. When your children come home, when you go through what they learn in school, you learn in college, they're teenagers. It don't stop. The law is forever. You have to teach the law forever. It don't ever stop. You go through what they learn. Listen, You know, it's as simple as that. Following the commandments, as you read, is not grievous. It's not difficult to follow the law. It's not. You know, they teach you tuna is what is it about tuna? Tuna has scales. It has microscopic scales, so you can't eat tuna. You're wrong. No sweat. So show me in the law that we use a microscope to determine whether a fish was lawful or not. Show me that. Because I might just say, well, you know what? Bob Marley may not be a heathen because he has melanin. They know how stupid that sounds. Being an Israelite is all about melanin. I mean, everybody has melanin at this point. You're dumb. The law says you are the seed of your father. There is no microscope that Moses had to check the fish. You see overlapping scales and fins, it's lawful. That's it. If it comes on the water. You know, it chewed the cud, it had a split hoof, Most High Christ. That's it. You understand? Yeah, Sister Kiss Happiness said, I heard that tuna thing. I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, listen, there is no microscope in the Bible where you could check the scales of the fish. You want to know what to eat, what not to eat? The law, Leviticus chapter 11. You know what to eat, what not to eat. I don't see how it's difficult. Like you can't. What's so special about catfish? It looks disgusting. I go fishing. The best fish I caught, we caught with my brethren, you know, is a walleye. Walleye is delicious. We killed it. We fished it. We killed it. We scaled it. You know, we skinned it. You understand? And it's delicious. I made some fish tacos with it. Now, I've seen a catfish out of the water. It's all slimy and nasty. Fish is always slimy anyways, right? But I see a catfish. It's all slimy. What makes you want to eat a catfish? Really, it's slave food anyways. You understand? What makes you want to eat a pig? Disgusting. I don't understand. I'm not trying to understand. The only thing I need to know about is the law. That's it. Always refer to the law. This is like our blueprint for everything. You know, the law tells you how to deal with your wife. The law, you know, the Bible is your whole constitution. It's simple as that. You understand? Sister said, because they are nasty, disgusting people. Really, at the end of the day, because they don't know who they are. That's what it is, sis. They don't know who they are. If they knew they were the Israelite, they would not eat catfish. Salakia, y'all apparently in the South, y'all eat gators. Like what? They possess people to eat alligators. And you know how we got that from the white man? Just like brothers ate the pigs, right? We were fed to the pigs and the pigs were fed back to us. We were fed to the gators and the gators were fed back to us. Shalom.
I'm right. Our people so destroyed. They think all you got to do is add a little season to something and it's all good.
Damn. People in Florida are eating iguanas. They say it tastes like chicken. Listen, it does. Just like Alsamado Bar said, not because you season it is lawful. You understand? How do I know that? Because a white woman breaks dance, that doesn't mean that she could sleep with her. Because Asians are acting like Mexicans, does that mean you can sleep with a bat eater? No, you can't. The law says you can't sleep with heathens. You cannot sleep outside of your nation. You understand? You can't. Because the Bible says that the bedroom is undefiled. Does that mean that you could get pegged by your wife? No, you can't. You shall not be effeminate. There should not be a sodomite in the sons of Israel. You can't do that. You understand? It's as simple as that. Now let's get back to Deuteronomy chapter 6. Again, yeah, for times we're going to do a part 2 next week. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house. Check the curriculum that they get in school all the time. I told you in college they taught that smoking was gay because it is shaped in the form, they shape cigarettes in the form of a phallus on purpose. You should not be smoking. And if that doesn't deter you from smoking, I have to question your whole sexuality. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm really not gonna hold you anyways, but you know. And when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down and when thou risest up, teach your kids from day and night, the moment they get up, make sure, you know, you follow the law. You go to bed, follow the law. Follow the law in your dreams. You understand? Verse 8. Thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. Now, I know what people are going to say. This is what the Jewish man would use to wear a box on their forehead and a rope around their, I think they call it the dignitaries, or I forgot the name, right? But what does this mean? Anyone could try to answer. What does it mean to bind it as a sign on our forehead? And there be as frontlets in between bind it as a sign on our hand, and it shall be as frontlets between our eyes. What does this mean? Anyone in the chat? Someone else said, bless you, brother. What's your name? 253 Fiend? Damn. I don't know about no fiends, but hey, shalom. What does it mean to have the law as a sign upon our hand and as a frontlet between thine eyes? What does it mean? I mean, Charles in the building. What does it mean? Anyone in the chat? YouTube, Facebook, Beagle. What does it mean? I see I got 2 answers so far. You got a few more seconds. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. What does it mean? Remember what we read earlier, a couple of verses up, to love the Lord with all our hearts, with our soul, and with our might, to observe and do the commandments. I gave you all the answers. I'm gonna just go with the answers I got on Beagle. Sister said, a reminder. And Kid said, what you do exactly. Because what Young Man Charles said, meditate on the law and do them. Exactly. Damn right. That's what it means. You know? Just think about the law all the time. Don't question yourself about, does it taste good? What does the law say about eating that fish that I got out of the water? What does the law say? You go to Leviticus 11, they go to the dietary law. It happened to me one time. I'm going to use that perfect example. I was walking when my dog was less than a year old. I went to the dog park, right? I seen who I thought was sisters in the dog park. I say, what's up? What going and whatnot? I chat to the things. And you see how you meditate on the law, you think about the law, right? As a frontlets between my eye, meaning it's always on my mind. What is the first thing I did when I try to talk to these sisters? Introducing myself. I had this jacket too. I'm Officer Barack Yala, whatnot. I said, where you from? She said, because one was light skin, one was brown skin. They said, my mom is from Florida. Most High in Christ. Now, where is your father from? According to the law, I'm not even going to entertain this too much, knowing you're a heathen. So I want to know, where is your father from? Say, my dad is a whole European. I say, well, damn. I kid you not, sir. I left the park. I said, have a good day. Shalom. Of course, I'm courteous. Is that how you say it? Courteous, however you pronounce it. We're professionals over here. I'm not going to start cussing her out. Say, yeah, you're the devil just like your dad. No, shalom. Have a good day with your dog or child, however you want to call it. Salaki, stupid. The point is, you think of the law all the time. That's why it's as a frontlets between your eyes and on your mind. You understand? Or say you didn't want the brown skinned sister. The brown skin and the light skin had the same dad. Yeah, their dad is a whole European. She just had the skin complexion of her mom, I guess. But that's a perfect example on how the law is always on your mind. Don't think and you know what? The law, right? But you're going to be a hypocrite and be like, well, I didn't ask her before I slept with her. Now I found out she's a whole heathen. That's your problem. You knew better. The other heathen trying to talk to my dad about me all the time. I went to her boss because I couldn't see her because she looked like a Latina. I asked your boss because he's Latino. I said, where's she's from? And he said, oh, she's Filipina. I said, well, damn, I'm not even going to entertain this. Shalom. You think about the law all the time. Is this wrong according to the law? Can I do this? Can I not do this according to the law? That's how you're going to teach your kids. You think with the law, what does the law says about hating a brother, about keeping a grudge? What does the law says about, looking for a sister or a brother? What does the law says about marriage? Every time is what does the law says? And that's it. That's how you raise them kids right. From a young age, all the time. Let's get back to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 6:8, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand. This is talking about an action. We are to observe and do the law, do the commandments, do what you're told to do, and do not do what is forbidden. It's talking about an action. And they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. That doesn't mean wear a box on your forehead like the impostor over there bombarding Iranians. It means you think about the law all the time. It's on your mind all the time. What is this animal I'm hunting? You understand? It don't matter if the swine is domesticated or not. What does the Bible says about a boar, which is just a pig, a wild pig? That's really what it is. What does the Bible says about that? Can I eat this? In the Quran, you can't unless you're hungry. In the Bible, what does the law says? Even if I'm hungry, even if I'm starving to death, what does it say? It says you can't. There's no alternative. You can't eat pork. That's it. You can't. The sister says, she said Joshua 1:8. What does Joshua 1:8 says? The book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth. There you go. Damn right, Mosiah in Christ. But thou shalt meditate therein day and night, and that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. That's it. That's the frontlets you have in your forehead, between the eyes. That's the sign that you're going to bind upon thine hand. You see, matter of fact, you see how people tie like a little thread around their finger as a reminder to not forget stuff? That's the law. That's what you're going to bind upon your hand. That little thread is the law. Remember to do the law all the time. Remember to act according to the law. That's it. That's how you're going to raise kids right. So you're not going to raise YNs. You're not going to raise little sodomites. You're not going to raise little whores, little prostitutes, and OnlyFans models. You're going to raise a daughter that one day you'll be proud to give away to a man. You understand? You're going to raise a daughter that a brother's going to look upon and be like, yo, I want to marry that woman. I don't just want to have sex with her and throw her away or pay her for like, what, $20? What is it? $40. You know, you're going to raise a righteous daughter of Zion, a princess. You're going to raise a righteous son. that a woman is going to look at like, yo, I don't give a damn if he has 10 women. I want to be one of his. Why? Because he is a man that follows the law. He is a man that's worth more than gold of Ophir. You understand? That's why. Because you raise them up from their kids. And you see how this is amazing to be in the ISUPK. We're building the kingdom of heaven where a lot of us, I'm not talking about me personally, you understand? Because I was not born in the truth. There's a generation that is born in the truth that never experienced Christmas, never experienced eating pork. Let me scratch pork. I mean, even though it's unlawful, I never hate pork in my life. But tuna, right? Or seafood. You understand? Smoking. They never experienced nothing that is unlawful. Why? Because they were taught the law from a young age. Let me bring this precept real quick. That's what Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. The book of Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go. What should we do? We should follow the law. The only thing that matters, Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, is to fear the Lord and obey the commandments. Nothing else matters. The Lord don't give a damn if you make 5, 6, 7 figures. If you don't follow the law, nigga, you go to jail and share a cell with Diddy. That's what's gonna happen. You know? And Lord be with you. Damn. Lord be with you. That's all I gotta say. Proverbs 22 and 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Just like you're taught to be, perfect example, you're taught to be a good, subservient, effeminate slave, to be a yes ma'am. You understand? Your mom teaches you how to be weak from the days of slavery. They train you up because they were so traumatized. And don't get me twisted. I'm not putting the fault on the sister on how we were conditioned, but just a good example, right? We're traumatized in slavery on how we deal with these oppressors, on how these oppressors deal with us. So, you know, as a fearful response to the treatment of the oppressor, they teach their young men to not be men, to not be strong men. You know what they should have done? They should have raised up their son like that sister raised up her 7 sons in the book of Maccabees. You don't give a damn about death. You follow the law. Oh, they skin you alive? Yeah, don't eat the pork. All you have to do is eat the pork. Don't eat the pork. That's it. You understand? Don't sleep with another man's wife. Not only would you be an adulterer, but this is lack of brotherhood. Like, why would you take another man's wife? And that's gay. Salakia. You know? Now, why would you, take a brother's wife? Steal a brother's wife? Why? And even you, sis, that's unsisterly from you for leaving that man. Why would you look for another man? You have one. Why would you betray him? You understand? That's the point. We have a generation of brothers and sisters like Captain Arya, for example. Just off the top of my head. Captain Arya is General Mahaiman's son. You understand? And others like him, brothers and sisters, are born in this truth. And their parents train them up from young to the point where they don't depart from it. They don't even question it. It's like, yo, what is the loss? It's like we're raising a generation where it's not, I'm not going to say first nature, second nature to follow the law. I mean, I'm not going to say second nature. I'm going to say it's first nature for them to follow the law. They don't look at left and right at heathens. See a sister, you go to her father and they ask, or her camp leader if you don't have a father, right? They ask for the sister. Can I court her? Can I marry her? They don't go look for some witch full of demons. They don't do that. They don't look for a woman that Christ called a female dog. They don't do that. They don't look for whatever think is a pretty face, but oh, her father's a whole European. They don't do that. They learn, oh, your dad is such and such, is a African, he's an Asian, he's whatever y'all be sleeping out with over there. They're not weak. They're strong men. Our princes are righteous princesses. You understand? Why? Because they were taught from a young age. And you, even those who are not born in the truth, like myself, right? They're taught from a young age. Kawaka, they're taught from a young age. Even brothers that come into the truth, let's say from like myself, right? The Officer Matabar, myself, other brothers and sisters, we're retaught how to be the men that the Lord called us to be. You understand? Sisters come here, they become the women or the princesses that the Lord called them to be. The fathers, the mothers, the brothers, the sisters that we are to be. You understand? So that we could teach the next generation. We could teach the children how they should conduct themselves according to the law. It all reverts to according to the law. That's it. It's as simple as that. How do you know it's simple? Because we just read it. The commandments are not grievous. It's not hard to not sleep outside your nation. It's not a hard thing. We have 12 tribes, 12 flavors. Like, you mean to tell me all black women look the same, smell the same, taste the same? That's what you mean to tell me? Like, there's a shortage of sisters? There's more women than men on the planet anyways. There's more sisters than brothers. You know? And you can have more than one wife. So what's the issue there? You want one with curly hair? One with no hair? One with 2 eyes, 1 eye, no eyes? I don't give a damn. Whatever floats your boat. You know? The point is, it's not a hard thing to follow the law. When your parents told you don't play with the fire or you get burned, is it difficult for you to not play with fire? Just don't play with the matches or the lighters. Don't put your hand on the stove. It's not difficult to not do it. You just do it. And then you burn yourself. You hurt. You know, it's not difficult for you to not bow down to a rock or to do the cross symbol on your face, or I don't know. It's not a hard thing to not go to church. Don't go to church and get hustled. It's not hard for you to have sex with only one man for the rest of your life. It's not hard for you to have sex with that woman and she's your wife for the rest of your life. You can have more than one anyways. But it's not a difficult thing. You understand? It's the safe thing to do. Well, you can't not follow the law. You have to. The wages of sin is death. If you want to live, follow the law. It's that simple. If you want to die, you should not want to die. Why would you want to die? The Lord, you don't even know. You're a weed smoker, you get hit by a truck. And it hurts. And then you die 3 days later. You did not know that you got hit by a truck because you smoke a cigarette. You don't have to die of cancer. You could die of what? Anthrax. And all you did is what? Sleep with a white woman. That's it. You understand? Salakia. Let's keep reading for time's sake, right? We're running out of time. Again, I said we're going to do a part 2 of the class next week. And the week after that, we'll just do the class in French. Deuteronomy 6:9, thou shalt write them upon the posts of thine house and on thy gates. Salakia, let's go to Ecclesiasticus 6:18. Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha, chapter 6, verse 18. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up. Same, train up a child from young. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. What is wisdom? Anyone could answer. What is wisdom? What is wisdom according to the law? Not the wisdom of the world. The wisdom of the world tells you that you could transition. The wisdom of the world tells you that a man could be a woman and a woman could be a man. The wisdom of the world teaches you about sexual liberation. What is wisdom? Give y'all a few seconds. I have an answer on the Beagle. Rich in spirit, Shalom Yabashisharbakatha. What is wisdom? According to the law. What is the wisdom of the Lord? What is wisdom? According to the law. Not the wisdom of the white man. The wisdom of the white man tells you that money brings value to a man. Well, Epstein had money. Trump has money. Isn't Trump a billionaire? This man is not only a pedophile or a child abuser, he is a woman abuser. He's on TV set, grab him by the box. Damn. And he's a felon. He has felonies and became president. What is the knowledge of the Lord? It's like the wisdom of the Lord. What time is it? For times I'm going to give it to y'all. The sister says, follow the law, statutes, and commandments. According to the law, absolutely. The wisdom, our nation, we're a wise nation because we follow the laws. We do not eat bat and spread COVID throughout the face of the earth because according to the law, you cannot eat bat. You cannot eat rat. You cannot eat cat. You can't eat dog. That's the wisdom. You understand? The wisdom of the Lord. Damn, Africans literally have sex with the earth. You did not know that? Africans trying to impregnate the soil. I'm not making this up. Listen, I'm not making this up. Let's read this. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Everywhere we go, we have to follow the law wherever we go. There's not a condition for you to not be able to follow the law. The times you couldn't follow the law, you know what happened? In the Maccabees, we didn't follow the law because we followed the Greeks. We became uncircumcised, meaning being circumcised, right? I'm just paraphrasing real quick for time's sake. Being circumcised is when you cut the flesh off of, your rod, right? That piece of flesh off of your rod is cut off, meaning we're set apart. That's what spiritual circumcision is. How do we become uncircumcised? Because we attach ourselves to the heathens, the Greeks in Maccabees specifically. So this is the metaphor of being uncircumcised. You understand? The law keeps us set apart, right? And you don't want to be attached to people that think they could impregnate the earth. It's a lot. Everything I say, I'm not making up, by the way. Y'all can look it up. You need me to do a history class to show you how the heathens are disgusting? Why would you want to attach yourself to people that have a festival of cow dung? Literally, the East Indian have the Diwali festival where they worship some transgender deity, and they literally roll around in cow dung as if kids roll around in mud. That's every year in India they do that. Africans shower in cow urine and use cow. Listen, some tribe in Africa, you see the one that look like they have red dirt on them. They literally don't shower. They say they rub cow dung mixed with something else to deter the parasites from their skin. That's a fact. That's disgusting. You are to be a separate people according to the law. You cannot even be, attached to these people and follow their ways. That's what the law says. Because the law says you are to be a holy people. Holy coming from the Hebrew word kodash, meaning set apart. Let's get back to the wisdom, right? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me that ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. There's not a reason for you not to be able to follow the law. The reason you can't follow the law is because you follow heathens. You follow the Greeks, you follow the Romans, you follow the Asians, you follow the Arabs, you follow strange nations. Verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. You understand how COVID was spread throughout the earth because they eat bat. The law forbids you from eating bat. This is not a virus. I think the Penga virus or something else coming from India, spreading. Like COVID. You know what they eat in India? They literally eat monkey brain. You really cannot make this up. People are complaining about how child marriages in Afghanistan and Iraq. Well, you don't have that problem when you follow the law because it is forbidden in the law. You understand? I seen a documentary of Kyrgyzstan. In Kyrgyzstan, their culture of marriage in Kyrgyzstan, they kidnap women. They kidnap women. That's how they put in their request. You see, when you put in your request in the Israelite culture, you go to the father figure, you inquire about a sister to court her, you ask permission to marry the sister or whatnot. In Kyrgyzstan, they kidnap women. They lay eyes upon the thing, she look good or whatnot, they kidnap her. They put her in a car, they drive them back to the village. That's their wife. That's in Kyrgyzstan. Well, this is our wisdom in the sight of the nations. You see all this crazy talk? It sounds crazy. To them, it's not. To them, you tell them about how you inquire about a woman. You go to the father, you ask, hey, Salaki, sir, I would like to court this woman. You understand? Like, well, they might say it makes sense. And when they tell you what they do, shit, they kidnap women. Like, damn, that's crazy. For you, it's crazy. For them, it's not, because you're wise. You're smart. They're dumb. How do you know these nations are stupid? Because the law, the commandments, the statutes, the judgments, which is your wisdom, was only given to Israel and Israel only. These nations are stupid. They can't raise their kids right because they don't have the law. That's why in Pakistan, they complain about child marriages and rape not being, addressed enough by the government because they have no laws. It's in their culture to be sexual deviants. It's in the culture of Pakistan to rape women. That's why they're not a wise people. Their East Indian neighbors swim in cow dung and drink from the Ganges River where they dispose of dead bodies. And they complain they have all types of health issues. Heathens are stupid because they do not have the law. Let's finish reading. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Imagine you following a stupid people, and they know you're smarter than them when you follow the law. Imagine what they think about you when you don't follow and you follow them. They convince you into prostrating to a rock. Damn. They convince you that homosexuality is an alternative lifestyle. Imagine how they convince you that your body, your choice. I just read an article. A sister terminated on her third trimester. Is that how they call it? Third trimester? She's pregnant. That's the point. She swallowed an abortion pill when the baby was damn near fully formed in her stomach. You know what she's being charged with? Murder. It doesn't matter how fully formed or not the baby was. Abortion is murder. But you know how stupid everybody's looking at her now? You understand? You don't want to have the baby. Well, maybe you should not have had sex. It's really that simple. Imagine all these nations, they look at us, they don't respect you because they're able to make you do the stupid things they do. I've seen a sister, she went to China and tried mouse. She literally had a fried mouse. I said, damn, the Chinese already look at us dumb. We're the only nation that does not have a culture. I spoke with an African earlier on the Bigo app. He said, my people sold your people. You guys are slaves to us. Now, he had to learn the hard way. He's not talking to an uneducated black man. I know my identity, my culture, my nation. You understand? I had to let him know. Salakia. The point is, these nations do not respect you because they make you worship their gods. Imagine, they make you worship like bestiality. The Egyptian gods are half human, half animals because the Egyptians of antiquity had sex with animals. How would you follow a nation like the Egyptians of antiquity? They use crocodile dung as a contraceptive. They believe it blocked the male sperm. You know what it means, right? It means they put it in their box before you go in it. Damn. Surely you are more stupid than the stupid people if you follow after the stupid people. Now, if you don't follow the stupid people, what did they say? Salakia, which shall hear these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. They know you're smarter than them. They know, listen, the Arabs know you're smarter than them. You know how? Because you can't eat pork. But they can't eat pork either unless they're hungry. That's in the Quran. I could give you the surah. You know, in the hadith, their so-called prophets prescribed camel urine as a medicine. I might have to do a whole series on the difference between Israelites and heathens to make you understand how really, I don't know how to make you understand. You should not follow the heathens. You should follow the law. You should teach your kids to follow the law. You understand? Let's get back to Ecclesiasticus, and we're going to end it right here. Right? We'll continue next week. Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 18. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, as we read in Proverbs 22 and 6. Train up a child in the way he should go. So my son, gather instruction from thy youth up, from young. Those instructions, what was those instructions the Lord gave us? The law, statutes, and commandments. Noah had the law as well. How did you know? The animals he brought in the ark, he brought in clean and unclean beasts. How do you know what is clean and unclean? The law. So, Salakia, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. You understand? What is that wisdom? The law. Teach the law to your children since they're young. Your daughter is going to be, she never will, not value herself or her body, because that box belongs to one man and one man only. Your son will know what to look for in a woman. Your daughter will know what to look for in a man. You understand? He will know that, hey, listen, her breath smells like shrimp. Maybe I do not want to put my mouth on this. You understand? That's it. What is the value? What are the values of that person? It's that simple. I would not marry someone, I don't want to marry a Christian. I don't want to marry a Muslim. What are you going to teach my kids? You're going to teach my kids your ways, the ways of the people that you follow, when they should be taught the law? Because this is what my people follow, what my people should abide by, what our people should abide by. Because you should not be a Christian. You should not be a Muslim. You should not be a Buddhist. You should not be, listen, you should be in the school. That's it. I don't give a damn what you should not be. You should be in the school. So-called blacks, Latinos, and natives, descendant of Negroes or indigenous on their father's side, men, women, children should be in the school. This is the body of Christ. This is your nation. This is home. You understand? One last precept. One of my favorite precepts, and then we're going to end the class. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 16. Khan. Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 16. Therefore say, thus saith the Lord God, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. The I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, under commanding General YAHANNA, is that sanctuary is talking about. Wherever we are, you understand, in the UK, in Canada, throughout the United States, in Central South America, France, everywhere the school is the sanctuary for our people. This is where you should be. This is where you're going to be taught your identity, your culture, the law, so that you could teach in the next generation, your sons and your daughters, so they could teach their sons and their daughters not to be whores, sodomites, adulterers, sinners in general. You understand? With that said, we're going to do a part 2 next week, right? A priest and officer 500 Barak Yalla with the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, under commanding General YAHANNA. Salakia Officer Marabar, I don't know if you're still here or not. We're about to close the class. If you would like to say anything before we close it. Officer Marabar. We're going to get the security announcements and close the class. Y'all make sure y'all tune in to General Hyman's scripture breakdown class. Will be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in 5 minutes on I.S.U.P.K 1 West online classes. Ask all your questions, bring all your problems, and you will get those questions answered and those problems resolved. With that said, Shalom Yahweh Shabbat to all the brothers, and Yahweh Shemana Tham Bashim Shout to all the sisters. Make sure you click on the sign in and sign out links in the beginning and the end of the class. I'm going to read the security announcements and close it. Shalom, Israel. Salakia. This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation, we have the Lord's 57th annual Passover. We will be in Houston, Texas, April 4th, 2026. Contact your camp leader ASAP for arrangements when it comes to the stay and your travel, right? It is a commandment. You are to be at the Passover. Reminder to all Akim Salakia. You can read more about it in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 1 to 51, Leviticus chapter 23, verse 4 to 5, 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7 to 8, and 2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 17. Reminder to all Akim Wakwatian, to all brothers and sisters, to check the bulletin board in the hallway of their school if they have a physical location. And if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pant, headband, and scarf. Well, that's how we give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. Menavijal Imajam, which means to stand. We'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Menavijal Imajam Shabbat. Imajam, Barak, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Brakatam, meaning Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless y'all. Yajamata, which means hands down. Sar, which means to turn. Turning to the sisters, if you have any in your presence, we'll give them a courtesy salute as well. Menavijal Imajam Shabbat. Imajam, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Alathan Bahashem Yahweh Shai, meaning Yahweh, watch over y'all in the name of Yahweh Shai. Yajamata, class dismissed. The water, Israel.
Check me out, dog. Roll the window up, man. The water. Ain't no brother, dog, brother. The son of a king. I don't Balenciaga. I might just wear collar. I might just wear the Pradas. But I'm thinking long term, so I might say the dollars. We ain't no better. I'm just being honest. I should've went to college, but I was thinking violence. It's a one West world. We the fucking livest. Break it down, we break ground. We don't break no damn promise. Let's get active, dog. Don't tell me how you feel about it. These cats saying too much. They ain't learn enough. You maxed out the first quarter. I'm still warming up. These niggas tossing up a brick. They can't score with us. Who gon' come against us? On the Lord with us. Them niggas riding for you. Hope they ride till they crash. Put my name in your mouth. I put my belt to your ass. I ain't running no race. I just hope that I last. All them niggas you look up to, I consider them trash. Only time you seen a leader was in Wayne hand. Niggas will dap you, then pop you with the same hand. I'm a main player. I stick to the game plan. He don't really fuck with you. That's your main man. We them niggas came through and made your city hot. Yup, said he in the field, but he really not. And I ain't casting no stone, I just let him rock. And that's the kind of story they gon' read about. But if it's war, it ain't no tapping out. Grip still heat, spit like a dragon off.
The I.S.U.P.K presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. You do not want to miss this one, Israel. Shalom.
Hey, listen, brothers and sisters, man. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to this channel. And also, please, go to isupk.com and pay your tithe. Drop me some cash so we can move around this planet like we need to, man, and do the things we need to do.